Good morning, everyone. This is Gail Dudley with your News in Motion. Today is Wednesday, September the 2nd, 2020. Again, today is Wednesday, September the 2nd, 2020. So let's get started with this rundown of the news and then part 3 of Politically Savvy. Good morning, Brenda Random, and good morning. So let's just start off hot. We knew a book came out on yesterday. We have another book that has come out today, or that will come out next Tuesday, I believe. Maybe it did come out today. I don't know. Check it out. You can check it out. It is called Melania and Me. It is called Melania and Me. And that is written by Stephanie Winston Wolkoff. This is called The Rise and Fall of My Friendship with the First Lady. And then they say inside the book, she captures, because at that point they were still friends, the jacket, "I really don't care, do you?" So trust me, I ordered a copy just to get just a couple snippets out of it. She was blamed for $107 million. Good morning, Kenya. Good morning, Kim Hill, for the inauguration. And she has now gone through several committee hearings. She has been testifying. So this is going to be interesting, but I can't wait to have that entire book in my hand. Again, that's called Melania and Me, The Rise and Fall of My Friendship with the First Lady. All right, so let's just go ahead and get dirty. As seen in Gyro, Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend, many of you know that he was arrested about a month ago. He was offered a plea deal, and his plea deal was that if he would claim that Breonna Taylor was part of an organized crime syndicated, they were saying to him to avoid a 10-year prison sentence and to be sentenced to possible probation. In return for leniency, he was required to admit that and a co-defendant, being Breonna Taylor, was involved in drug trafficking operation in Louisville, Kentucky, sometime up to April 22nd. Now, I have to give kudos to this ex-boyfriend. He said absolutely not, and absolutely not does she have anything to do with anything like that. So, that's playing dirty. That's playing dirty. And I understand the parents of Breonna Taylor and their attorney are going after the officials. So, y'all, we have to stay awake. We have to, good morning, Brad Beverly. We have to be on that wall. We have to be looking out for one another. And if we see something, say something. So kudos to this young man who said, absolutely not. I'm guilty, but she's not. She had nothing to do with this. Will they or won't they let her vote proxy? Well, y'all, there's an assembly member. This was in Politico. There's an assembly member named Buffy Wicks. Good morning, Victoria. I'm so glad he stayed truthful. I know. Just think, he's like probably thinking about his life and saying, I'm going to take her under. She's not here, but that's not what happened. So I give him kudos. I just say yes to that young man. Assembly member Buffy Wicks, who gave birth in late July, get this, y'all, said the assembly leaders denied her request to vote by proxy despite just giving birth and being in this pandemic with COVID-19. Y'all, this is a California lawmaker. So what she did, she got up, she brought the newborn to the assembly floor after being denied being able to vote proxy, and she voted. She's like, no, you're not going to silence me. I'm going to get up. I don't have, there's no one I can have come sit with my newborn. I'm going to just wrap my newborn up, and I'm going to go and vote. But now here's the thing. Other people voted proxy. They were men. What? They were men. Another report from Politico reports that the occupant of the Oval compares police brutality to golfers who miss a 3-foot putt. That's been circulating on the news as well. That was his comparison. Epic fail. That was an epic fail right there for the occupant. Axios reports that Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan invest 300 million. Wow, what would it be like to have 300 million at your fingertips? Well, just let me touch it, okay? They invested $300 million in election infrastructure to promote safe and reliable voting amid the pandemic, to make every vote count, so they can accept the result of the election as legitimate. So they invested $300 million. $300 million, y'all. Okay, let me go to the coronavirus numbers. In the U.S., we have 6,257,571 cases. Y'all know I go to the World Health Organization. Deaths, there are 188,900 deaths. Recovered, there are 3,496,913 that have recovered. So those are the coronavirus numbers. All right, y'all. On Monday, I gave you part 1 of Political Savvy. On yesterday, I gave you part 2. Today, I'm going to give you part 3. Actually, yesterday I gave you 2 and 3. Today I'm going to give you part 4. And it's all about telling your story. So I'm going to quickly go through this. The first thing you have to do when telling your story, everyone wants to have a story. And our focus right at this moment is voting, is this election cycle for November the 3rd. So when you're telling your story, you want to get buy-ins from your constituents. So what's your constituents? That's a structural unit. That's a structural unit of people. So who's your base? And you may say, well, I'm not running for office. We all have a base. We all have followers. Look at your social media. Good morning, Nellie. We all have followers. So look at your social media. So who are your constituents? Who are the people that you're speaking with? Who are the people that you are talking with? Those become your constituents. People who come to you because you are an influence in their lives. There's a circle of influence. Those become your constituents. When you're telling your story, whether it's your business, whether it's your career, whether it's if you're running for a political office, whatever it is, tell your story. Y'all know I've been talking about that for several weeks. What's your story? And remember, you have 2 to 3 minutes to tell your story. What's your story? Why do you vote? Why do you think it's important to vote? What are the different platforms and how do they speak to you? What are the different issues and how do they speak to you? Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Patricia. You have to tell your story. So that becomes those are your constituents. So the first thing, there are 6 areas under this part about telling your story. So the first thing you have to know, you cannot build relationships without storytelling. It doesn't happen. Tell your story. What's your platform? Tell your story. What is your story? So number 2, what is your life story? What's your story? What are you speaking about? What's happening with you? What's going on with you? What is your story? Why are you engaged in this movement? Why? You got to answer that question. Why are you passionate about it? Why are you engaged in this movement? And I'll use me as an example so you can follow me. With News in Motion, I am engaged with this because I want to keep the people informed. I want to keep the people informed. This is a launch pad from Ready Publication, which is now Ready Media. I want to keep people informed. I want people to have, like last week, I cannot tell you how many people emailed me or inboxed me thanking me for breaking down what Hatch Act meant. They had no idea. They were hearing a word. And so many people, we hear words, but we don't pull out our phone. Y'all, Google is your friend. Google the word so you understand what it is. So I have a passion. My movement is to get as many people up until November the 3rd registered to vote. I want them to be registered. I also want them to become poll workers as well. You can go to iwillvote.com to register to vote. You can go to rockthevote.org to register to vote. You can go to whenweallvote.org to register. You can even go to readypublication.com and click the Ready to Vote campaign icon and register to vote, as well as check out your voter registration information. So what is that movement? What is that voting movement? What is that movement that you're passionate about, that you're telling your story about? Tell your story. I cannot tell you how many countless millennials, when I hear them say, and I can be in a line at the grocery store, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm not voting. Oh, yes, you are. And here are the reasons why. My name is Gail Dudley. I'm 55 years old, and I'm going to just give you just briefly why I believe you should register to vote. I go straight to, are you in college? Have you graduated from college? Do you have any loans? If you have loans, you want to register to vote. And here are the reasons why. I'm amazed at how many people go, really? Because they don't even see the connection. So many young people are thinking, oh, well, my parents got that. Well, maybe they don't. And if you're saying that your parents have that, let's look at it this way. You need to vote to make sure that their pockets are okay so that they can continue to take care of you while you're in school, or if you have a health issue or something else is going on. When you bring it to the issue and not the people, you'll be amazed at how many people go, really? So tell your story. Number 3, why do you do what you do? What's your story? So now, why do you do what you do? And you can think, well, I'm not into politics. Listen, everything's political. Everything. You applying for a job is political. You applying for a pastor position at a church, that's political. They even vote. You want money raised for a certain thing, that's political. There's usually a vote. Excuse me. People want to know why and why not. There's a vote behind this, y'all. Politically savvy, you have to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. When you go to the bank and you want a loan, that's political. Yes, your background too, but there's some politics that are being played in there too. What's your risk factor? What's the chances that you won't pay back? Who do you follow? Yesterday we talked about following the money. We talked about doing your research and understanding where your dollar is going after you pay for a product. Same thing here. Tell your story, people. Tell your story. And then number 4, collaborations and partnerships. Y'all, time out for just trying to be an island. I am constantly giving you resources on here. I'm giving you resources because I can't do this. I'm here to give you the information, and I'm sending everyone out to go figure out what else is going on. Y'all know I'm a resident of Ohio. I live in Central Ohio. I will support Al Edmondson. He is a barbershop owner. They are doing some great things. They kicked off their poll working piece yesterday. It was local news. Also in Central Ohio, Breathe. Rita Fuller Yates, the Columbus Black News on Sunday. Partnership, collaboration. I went over to Morse Road to the Board of Elections, picked up a whole, I think it was 1,000 of them, took it to Easton Town Center in relationship with Breathe at their customer service desk. They're registering people to vote. They're giving out the absentee applications. They're talking about poll working. That's collaboration. Everyone has to have a part to play. So here's the question. What's your story and what is your part that you're going to play? Come on, y'all. We got to have that plan. I've been talking about it. Number 5, being available. Now, you can be available, but don't become too familiar. Be available. Yes, Al Edmondson is all about it. Yes, go on, girl. Talk about your husband. Yes, he is. That's y'all, Kim Miller Edmondson. That's the wife to Al Edmondson. She's like giving her man a shout out. I don't blame her. That's what I'm talking about. Be available, not familiar. Let me talk about that a little bit. Be available to volunteer, to register. And I don't know why y'all, Siri and the iPhone, Apple Watch just keeps talking to me. I don't know if I'm signaling her or what. But anyway, you want to be available. So what does that look like? Well, how many hours can you volunteer? You don't have to have them you don't have to have people up in your house. Actually, it's COVID-19. You don't want to do that anyway. You don't have to give people your full schedule. You have to say, okay, do I have the capacity to do X, Y, and Z? So I'm going to be available, let's say on Mondays, or I'm going to be available, let's say on the weekend. Whatever that is, be available, stick to it, but you don't have to let them into your life. Not unless you're building a relationship, which goes back to my point 1. To build a relationship, you have to tell your story. So you have to be available. So like even when I use the example of being in the grocery store line. And as I'm in that grocery store line, and I hear different conversations, people like talk. Now people have been in isolation. You get out, you want to start talking. So if I hear an opportunity, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make myself available. I'm going to get off my phone for a moment, and I'm going to have this dialogue. I'm going to have this conversation with someone. But again, what I said on Monday, make sure your integrity is not weakened, or your commitment or your credibility is not weakened by giving false information. If you say something, like even yesterday when I could not remember how many children were found in Georgia. I said, y'all, somebody give me that number. I said, I think it was 40. I'm not real sure. Be honest about that. Like, I'm not real sure about what the tax plan looked like, but if you Google it, I'm sure you can find it, but I know it's on the table. Talk about it like that. Talk about healthcare. Here's the truth, the healthcare. On one side, the RNC last week was talking all about your health insurance and all about Joe wants to take away your rights for pre-existing conditions. Well, who's in the court right now talking about those things? That would be the White House administration. That would be them trying to take away your health care because you have pre-existing conditions. You can Google that. It's factual. It's there. So you got to also pay attention to the spin. What's your story? What's your story? What's the story? And then finally, point 6, having a strong but a diverse platform. Having a strong but a diverse platform. What is your platform? That comes from your story. That comes from your story, and it's being able to tell that story. So let's go back to the woman who released her book on yesterday, and it was yesterday, by the way, people. Her name is Stephanie Winston Wolkoff. It's called Melania and Me: The Rise and Fall of My Friendship with the First Lady. Okay, so she's telling her story, just real quick. She's telling her story. She's telling her story, and she has a strong, diverse background because she's been in there. She knows what's going on. She has audio recordings that's supposed to be released sometime today with the First Lady. She knows what's happening. So she's telling her story. And she's telling her story, and the reason and her mission behind telling her story is because they threw her under the bus. And now that she's coming face to face with what is happening, you're giving away good nuggets on today. Thank you, Pamela. What's happening with her story, she's like, I want to be free. She has children. She has a husband. She has a family. She's saying, I want to be free from this. I just want to be free. I'm going to tell my story. And this is what she's doing. Now, I would give her the win for today, but I can't give her the win. So I'm going to just give her a shout out. This is what she's doing, y'all. She has said, and she said it yesterday on Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow had the first interview, I believe, yesterday. Maybe Robin Roberts had the first one, but Rachel Maddow went a little bit deeper. So Stephanie came back to a question that Rachel Maddow asked yesterday. And Stephanie said, listen, I used to be afraid to give my information. I used to be afraid. And then she goes on to say that she found out that Michael Cohen, y'all know he was the fixer, came to her and he had recorded her conversation. And she was shocked. So now she said she got smart to start recording conversations. So she said on national television last evening, she says, every time you say something, I'm releasing another audio. I said, whoa. She's like, this is my story. This is my story, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. She's telling her story. Her mission is to get her name recognition back because her name recognition has been diminished. That's another way of telling your story. I'm asking us to tell our story based upon voting, based upon becoming poll workers, based upon seeing change within our community, based upon doing what we need to do to raise funds, business research. How do we collectively come together and make a difference? Y'all, I know we're tired. All of us are tired, but guess what? We got to keep working, which goes back to something I said a month and a half ago, I believe, where I said, y'all, we need to have power groups. And power groups are, okay, you go in this quarter. When you come out, I've been rested up, I go in. When I go in, you take a rest. When I come back out, you go back in. Y'all, we have to have a system that works, which also means communities have to work together. We have to work together. Partnership and collaboration. We can no longer be an island. If we want to see change, if we want to see things progress, we have to put aside our differences. We have to support each other, whether that's with money, whether that's with promotion, whether that's with doing assistance work, whatever that is, we have to collectively come together. Y'all, we have almost 60 days left, just a shy of 60 days left to this November election. And that's going to tell us a lot. I'm not for sure if they're still counting the census or not. So if anybody knows that, please let me know. If they are still counting it, go to 2020census.gov and complete your census. Get young people, all these millennials in these apartments, 2 or 3 or 4 people in an apartment. One person can complete that and count for all 4 of you. Y'all, if the count is not right, it's going to change the federal funding. It's going to change the congressional landscape. And that's going to stay that way for a decade. We don't want that to happen, people. We do not want that to happen. Please complete your census. So with that, for the win, as seen in Fortune, Old Navy for the win. Old Navy. I'm sure they're not the only one, but they're the first people that I'm seeing. Old Navy for the win. They will pay their employees to work at voting polls on election day to be poll workers. Old Navy for the win. They will receive a day of pay regardless if they are scheduled to work on November 3rd or not. Old Navy for the win. This actually sets us up, y'all. If people follow Old Navy, it is setting up the United States for people to have that day off. The national day of no working so people can go to the polls and vote. Now, that's my prayer that actually happens. But with Old Navy setting it up, I believe Best Buy is also doing something with employees. Don't quote me on that. You can Google that. But if I remember correctly, Best Buy is doing something where they're giving them so much time off to go and vote that day. So that's Old Navy. So y'all, there's currently a shortage where they were at 500,000 poll workers needed across the U.S. That's now cut in half. They're down to 250,000 poll workers still needed, roughly 250,000. Here's 2 resources I'm going to give you today. Write them down, 2 resources. The first one, is civicalliance.com. If someone can put that in the comment, use the www. So people can just click www.civicalliance.com. And the other one is www.powerthepolls.org. So civicalliance.com, please put in the www. And then powerthepolls, POLLS.org. And then the other one for the young people would be, older people are afraid to do it. You're right. Then the young people, where they're getting young workers, even high schoolers, will go to www.pollheroes.org. Pollheroes.org. These are all nonpartisan, y'all. I've checked them out. They're all nonpartisan. Thank you for putting those up there. And please share those links with other people, y'all. They're still down 250,000 poll workers. And here's the truth. They will start closing polling locations if they cannot staff them. And you know which ones are going to close. And we need every vote to count. So here's my inspirational message before I sign off today. My inspirational message is, we can't stop now. We cannot stop now. We have to keep our eye on what's important. We have to stay focused. We cannot stop now. We can't do it, y'all. If you need to take a step back to breathe, take a step back and breathe. Take a step back to self-care. Take a step back just to say, okay, let me just rest for a moment. Turn off the news if you have to. Turn it off, because it can become so much. It can become too much for us. So you just have to take a step back and say, okay, I'm just going to breathe for 8 hours. I'll come back in. Or I'm going to breathe for 24 hours. Or I'm going to breathe for 48 hours. And I'm going to step back in. Y'all, this is the time, starting Tuesday, the day after Labor Day, we have to hit the ground running. We have to hit the ground running. We have to start asking questions. Text message people. It's whenweallvote.org. There's this app that you can download, and I don't have it with me, but it's the app there's an app that you can download that you can then upload. It's a sneaky way of doing it, but it works. You can then upload your entire contact list, and they'll tell you if they voted or not in the last election. I didn't think it was real, so I did it. I downloaded the app on my iPhone. I put in my contact. I saw everybody who did not vote in the last 2 elections. Then it will give you a frowning face if they're not registered. So you know what I did? I started texting them. And guess what, y'all? I like this. This is a product of Michelle Obama. I checked it out. You can text somebody and they don't even know you text them. So if you want to check out people, check that out. It's another resource, y'all, whenweallvote.org. All right, y'all. Hey, Demia can die. You said yikes. So yeah, you can check that out, people. I was like, oh, you're not a voter? And I was like, I don't like that. So, then in casual conversation, I would say, hey, did you vote in the last election? And people, if you are FaceTiming or you're Zooming and their face drops, I'm going to need you to go register today. Here's the link. Let's get that done today before the day is over. So that's what we have to do, people. All right. I think that's it for today. Until tomorrow. Nope. I can hear my interns right now. I can hear my daughter. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if ever you want to give and support this work that I'm doing, you can Cash App me at the $MIM today. You can PayPal me at GED@insight.rr.com. You said we can't be friends if you don't vote. I'm right with you, to me, on that. I'm with you on that. Or you can say, you know what? I can't do anything, but if I see an article that I don't think you received, I'm going to send it to you in your inbox so that you can research that and let me know if that's a legitimate article or not. We're in this together, collaboration and partnership. All right, y'all, I've given y'all 3 sections. Monday on Political Savvy, I gave you part 1. Yesterday, I gave you part 2 and part 3. Today, I gave you part 4. Tomorrow, I will give you part 5, and then we got to get to work. All right, y'all, until tomorrow, 7:25, right here, Lord willing. I'm Gail Dudley with your News in Motion. Peace out, everybody.